Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to some Star Wars OCS playoff action. These are replay links of the match between Arebelspy and Silverglen that took place earlier this week, and I think even the first game might have been last week. They were playing because of the time zone differences between West Coast USA and England. We had to they had to play in the middle of the day is when it kind of, or at least the middle of the day for me. It was about noon for Joe, and it was about 9 o'clock at night for Justin. So we got some replays. We'll be looking at one from each player. We'll be looking at the links from the player who won each game, see what they did right. And our first game is going to be Rebel Spy, Joe Olson, playing Court of the Vile Gangster. And he will be taking on Silverglen's No Idea They're Coming. Two popular decks we've been seeing for quite some time now on Gemp. Joe does have the No Bargain. That is a good counterplay for the No Idea matchup, and he will start that instead of. Oh, we're going to pause for a second there. He'll start that instead of the usual wipe them out. No Bargain, for those of you not familiar with this card. While no Imperials are at Jabba's Palace sites, at all Jabba's Palace sites, Rebels are deployed +2, Revolution is cancelled, and non-unique aliens are forfeit +1. Revolution never really comes into play ever since it's been shielded, and there's like 5 cancelers for it too. But Rebels are deployed +2 is kind of the big takeaway there. So, um, make 10 men feel like 100 makes your Rebel Spies deploy -1, which is most of the characters in a No Idea deck, but not quite all of them. So those guys would be +1 instead of being -1 to Jabba's Palace sites. And then everybody else who doesn't meet that spy criteria is deployed +2. Makes it a bit harder for them to come interact here. They can come out here and then walk in if they have to, but Darkside's usually happy with that because then they get the initiative to drop a bunch of guys and initiate some battles. The counter, Silverglen, is starting. You've got a lot of guts coming here, which makes Rebels of ability equal 3 or power and forfeit +1 everywhere, or they're +2 if they're at Cloud City or Jabba's Palace sites. So while his guys may be more expensive to deploy to Jabba's Palace sites, some of them will be power and forfeit +2 there. But the important thing of this is that while Han at a battleground, opponent retrieves no force from scum and villainy. That will be a key component of this matchup as well. Scum likes to retrieve a lot, of course, but you got to keep Han out of battleground in order to do it. And in some decks, that can be a little harder. If you can stash him on a ship, it works out pretty well for you. Like you'll see Diplo do that sometimes. You just put him as a pilot on one of your ships. It's a little harder to interact with. There's more other characters that you can forfeit and things when he's on the ground. Han tends to get shot or hidden weapons or something to take him off the board. I am just going to hit refresh here real quick, just to make sure stream is up and running efficiently. Okay, and then he also started Insurrection and make 10 men, which we just covered. All right. So we'll see. Joe's got a couple of. So he's got the Twi'leks, and he's got the Sail Barge 2.0 site. Looks like he's also running a couple of Accelerates and the Bridge. We'll have to see how many docking bays he's playing as well. And there's the Bridge. He has at least one docking bay in there that we can see. Now he will Twi'lek because he already got the passenger deck. He's going to use that to pull his alien leader, thus preserving his once per game audience chamber pull. He can use that later to get somebody better, or whoever else he might need for that situation. Possibly even Ephantmon. He can do it either way. I mean, Ephantmon is also a leader if he has him. For those of you also not familiar with Ephantmon's text, he basically prevents all spies, gamblers, and thieves from going to his location. So that would be like 2/3 of the characters in the No Idea deck. So he can just completely lock out a site altogether. Instead, Joe's going to be very aggressive. He's going to go to space right away. So we've got two things happening here. He's got Jabba by himself. He's kind of relying on the no bargain, making guys cost +2 or at least +1 to kind of limit who can come down and what they can do. Even if you dropped 2 guys and battled, what's the best case scenario? You kill Jabba, but you don't have enough force left to cancel scum, so he can just Jabba's Haven him back if he wants. Doesn't have enough force for Greedo either. He does go on with the Space Cruiser. The Space Cruiser got him an alien leader aboard for free, and he used that text to pull the Prince, who adds 2 to power and has 6 forfeit. So he's got 7 power, immune to less than 5 here, and just only 3 power with Jabba, but he does still have this audience chamber pull, so you do have to be careful with that. Even if he did come down, what's the best case? He kills Jabba, he loses one of his 2 guys, and then he's got 1 guy left sitting there by himself. Jabba gets Jabba's Haven back, the audience chamber pulls a guy, and they beat the crap out of whoever's left. It doesn't really seem like a winning proposition, and Joe knows that and recognizes that and decides to just push the tempo of the game right from the start. Justin goes to deploy a docking bay and misses. Usually he's got the home 1 docking bay. Sometimes the Scarif docking bay is in there to give them an extra battleground. Another way to flip and kind of spread out on the ground. He's going to get Jyn Erso down. He's going to pull Stardust. That's going to make him lose a force. So yeah, he could have used Jyn and suicided Jyn just to kill Jabba. Would have saved himself a force, but it doesn't really advance his game state any and what he wants to do. And he's looking to get some direct damage going himself here and just try to outpace scum. Because they have no Imperials or a Star Destroyer here and no Imperials at a related location, he's force draining -1. Mara Jade may show up at some point. It looks like he had the Scarif landing pad in hand. So he's going to throw that docking bay away. I guess he's going to be content to just play these 2 sites here. The other thing we've noticed, Nal Hutta has not hit the table yet. That's also a very key strategy for dealing with no idea. If you don't give them a system to go to and you just take theirs as court, because you have access to your ships. They have access to theirs too from the objective, but typically speaking, the dark side ships are better. Space Cruiser's better, Zuckuss is better, Stinger's pretty solid too. Guri deploys free. He had Guri in hand, so that's a good find. While Guri's piloting, it adds a Battle Destiny, also immune to less than 5. So now you've got 2 ships up there that are immune to less than 5. You've got Guri aboard, who's adding a Battle Destiny, and Guri limits them to only 1. So it's going to be hard to crack immune to less than 5 with 1 Battle Destiny in a deck that's got 30+ characters. So it's not a good start for Silverglen, and a very good start for Arebelspy here. And he did get the 2 drains off as well, losing bays and the landing site. But he does run his hand down a little bit. Balago, thank you for renewing your subscription. Is that 5 months now? Awesome. Okay, so he's going to shuttle down the Prince, and he's going to deploy Woof up there. He's got Greedo to back up the Prince, but he's going to look for some additional help as well here with all these cards he's going to be drawing. He does find a fun bunch of characters. And he finds another Grappy Greedo. And there's Boba Fett. That's a good one to pick up. And he'll save 1 force, but because there's each player's character and vehicles deploy +2 to Scarif sites that player does not occupy. So that's the key thing there. The Prince already occupies this location, so Greedo won't cost extra to deploy as a react. And the Prince makes him required to have 6 ability or more to draw Destiny, but that doesn't work against Jyn because she draws if unable to otherwise. And I would expect He's only got 6 cards in hand, but he does have the ability to. He's got a lot of characters, and I would expect him to have a few extra guys for backup, and he could possibly flip if he wants to go to the other site. It's going to cost him a little more to do that, though. If he controls 2 Scarif locations, actually he can't flip right now. He would need the docking bay, which he threw away, in order to flip. So he's going to have to go kill the prince the old-fashioned way. But first things first, he's just going to do 2 damage with Stardust because, well, that's what Stardust does. Joe loses the docking bay off the top, so there goes his extra docking bay. There's, all right, so he pulls weapons display. Weapons display is good for stopping things like barrier. It's also good for stunning leader, but stunning leader only works at interior sites, and this one is exterior, so it's not really going to do anything in this particular case. So you've got Saw, who adds 1 to attrition, and he's in battle with a rebel, so he could cancel a non-immune to sense interrupt, so he could cancel stunning leader if he's in a battle, or hidden weapons or something. And then Kraken comes down, who should add a destiny because these guys are all spies, I believe. Saw is a resistance agent and spy. Yeah, so Saw Gerrera is a spy, Jin's a spy, and this guy's a scout. So Kraken's going to add a battle destiny there as well. So it's already 12-5, and he's getting 2-1 here on his draws. And he hasn't stopped deploying yet. And he's got solo as well. He'll lose 1 to court. And it's the Bright Hope from hand. So Silverglen's got basically no hand left. Greedo will come down as a react here. So it's going to give him a couple more power, but more importantly, it gives him 6 more forfeit, which basically means now he's got 12 in forfeit, so we're essentially almost even. Why didn't he get the second draw? Oh, because he put solo down. Never mind. Yeah, so he put solo down, adds 4 more power. He doesn't get the second battle destiny now. But, I mean, what would he have drawn realistically anyway? Probably something less than 4, so Kraken's going to go, and 14 battle damage pretty much means both of these guys are going to go as well. Joe will top deck a projective and an accelerate, and then lose both characters. Pause it for a second here. I'm getting a private message from Queso, who should be watching this stream right now, and should know that I'm busy streaming some games, but okay. So trains of 1 and 1. There go 2 more characters, Cephla and Leia, and now we're going to get a Boba Fett. So Boba Fett costs 6. It's -1 from scum, +2 from the objective, because he's the first character there. And here's a guy we don't get to see too often, Ganna Gleamort. Force generation at same site is +X, where X equals number of opponents' aliens at same and adjacent sites. Solo would be 1. May lose 1 force to cancel a force drain at an adjacent site. Well, that's pretty helpful. But most importantly, he just happens to be a guy who's got 5 power. and 2 ability. And here comes Greedo number 2. So now he's got enough ability. Presumably Greedo's going to get forfeited. I'm sorry, presumably Gana Gleamore is going to be probably the one getting forfeited. Because this deck tends to draw low. Fett's adding 2 Destiny because he's with the Bounty Hunter. And he does have 2 Force left if he wants to pay the upkeep. It means he's probably not going to... He can't retrieve anyway because Solo's at a Battleground with Scum. So no need to worry about using the Force for that instead. Go right to the Battle Destiny phase. Get a couple of characters drawn here, probably. Yep. Grand total of 6. Not ideal for Darkseid, but it would mean... Alright, so Saw will cover 6. But attrition against opponents +1 here for each of their characters present. So he's adding 3 to attrition, which means Gana's not going to cover it. Oof. Draws a 1, though. So I think we're looking at losing Greedo here and then paying the upkeep on Fett. It's actually a fairly safe play, again, because Silverglen only has 3 cards in his hand. Joe has kind of pushed the pace, pushed the tempo. Silverglen's been forced to counter him at each move so far, and has kind of put himself in a spot where he doesn't really have, anything to sort of threaten with. Like this board right here, you'd love to do something, but what's he going to do with 3 cards? All right, he's got Guy, Ensign Chad here. And he's going to try and take out Boba Fett, but I have a feeling this is an ill-advised battle for Silverglen. He draws a 2, so he's going to get rid of Gana, which is going to leave Fett by himself. And Joe's got 6 cards in hand. And meanwhile, you're either going to lose Solo or... Now you're losing 2 characters. So basically, you're losing Chad and Jin and then moving Solo away if you want to keep this card around. Or you're losing Solo as well and then moving Jin away. Yeah, I think you're losing Jin here and then moving Solo away. Yep. Not a very good battle for Silverglen. And now he's getting a peek at Arebelspy's hand and sees that he's got 4 characters there. And he's just going to draw. We haven't seen any droids lost, so Aphra's not that big a deal, but Velkin and Jasper could certainly overrun Solo pretty quick. Jasper, Bounty Hunter, gets the extra Destiny draw. He's going to activate 3, and then he's going to use it, and he's going to get Broken Concentration. What a garbage card. Why isn't there a shield for that card yet? Because it helps against Jedi training, that's why. Let's just make it so that it just says the second part here. Broken Concentration may only affect Jedi training Destiny. This other part here is the part that is just kind of problematic. Once per turn, you may use 2 Force to move the top card of opponent's Force pile to the top card of their reserve deck. So you take this card here and put it back on top of the reserve deck. Ordinarily, it's not that big a deal when you think about it, but when you combo it up with a lot of other things, it stops your opponent from drawing up, which is very big in match play, especially in a deck that retrieves a lot. It stops your opponent from being able to spend Force to use for interrupts, which First Strike requires you to do. Stops your opponent from being able to play interrupts outside of battle, like barrier and things like that if you take their force away. Then you combo it up with the Jawa, the dark side Jawa, who you get to spend your opponent's force, and now suddenly they have to start leaving more force behind because they can spend one, and Broken Concentration says use two. So you use one of your opponent's force to then move their other card in their force pile back. So now they have two force now that you've just taken out of their force pile. So you see things like this. They start to lead to some degenerate strategies. With Erica Virtual being able to create a lockdown situation where she gets to retrieve a card once per turn, and you stop them from being able to draw up. You see it with sometimes with Watto decks, where if they save the force, you can use Broken Concentration and the Jawa to move some of their force back, so now they don't have enough to pay, and they keep taking the damage. And there aren't really very many enjoyable playing experiences that come from playing against Broken Concentration. Oh, there's Afantmod. And there's the stupid Jawa we were just talking about. So what does this stupid Jawa do? Once per turn, if present at a Tatooine battleground and there is more than one force in opponent's force pile, you may use one force in their force pile. It's in memory of Eric White, a longtime Star Wars player who passed away back in 2011. He very much loved Jawa decks, so they created a Jawa, and Ratik Hui is a anagram of Eric White's name, and kind of fits in the whole Jawa-esque pattern of naming stuff. But these two cards make a pretty crazy combination. So your opponent left 4, he can spend 1, and like I said, if you're spending his 1 as part of the 2 cost for Broken Concentration, then you're moving a second card back, and now your opponent has to start saving 3, 4, 5 extra force per turn just because of your ability to manipulate their force pile. It sounds very cool in theory, but playing against it is pretty nerve-wracking. There's Jasper. There's the Broken Concentration. And Velkin Tazeri is another guy we don't get to see too often, which is also an anagram. Velkin Tazeri is an anagram for Kevin Reitzel, who was a longtime Decipher employee and one of their big tour guys who traveled around the country, supporting the different squadrons. Back when Decipher had those squadron programs, he was a fixture at all the major conventions, running their booth and things like that. Great guy, based out of the Atlanta area, just moved back to Southern California just a couple months ago. So, concept by Kevin Reitzel, created by Kevin Reitzel. He does stuff at a pit. He has 1 to 4 strains, which kind of fits a little bit with the Scum deck because they have a pit. While present at a site, unless hit, your other characters here may not be targeted by lightsabers, and he may not target Luke with weapons. Kind of a very thematic card. He also happens to be a smuggler, so he gives you, and a pilot, so he gives you one more thing that Ellison Hinthroyd can pull. So if you miss your woof, or you already have your woof and you're looking for somebody else to get, Velkin's not a bad guy. He's a 2/4, adds 2 to power kind of guy. And he's plotting to kill Jabba, which used to be a thing as well, back in the Legacy era. Death Star Sentry. Guess he's worried about non-unique troopers coming down as a react, like that guy. So he comes down for 1. And the second guy could also come down for 1. And he'd have to come down for an additional 1. So yep, there's the 2. So if Joe had used Broken Concentration to move one of Justin's cards out of his force pile, he would not have been able to afford the second guy. And there's Erica. But Joe's kind of run his hand down pretty small too, and obviously needs to save force for Boba Fett's upkeep. He just draws a 5, and I believe these rebel guys forfeit for 5. Yep, they do. They deploy -2 to a site where opponent has more characters than you. And Silverglen draws 1. That is one of the excruciating parts of this no idea deck. There are just so many low destiny cards in it. It's between all the 30-ish characters and some of the low destiny useful interrupts like Hujix and things. Um, you have to win on power in every battle. It's kind of like Scum in that way, but Scum has actually gotten some help in the last couple of sets with things like Twilight and whatnot that give it some more high destiny interrupts. All right, we got Captain Cassian, who's going to come down to cancel at least a battle destiny. That's curious. I guess he's just going to battle. Yeah, if I were Justin, I think I might have considered putting Corrin here and picking up Stardust. And then just moving over and not battling, because you've got, more cards than your opponent. He's got a pretty small hand. You've already seen a couple of them, so you know these two are in his hand, and they're not doing anything really at this site. I don't know that I'd want to continue to just keep battling into him, because all you're really doing is picking off one guy at a time. In the meantime, you're getting drained for 1 and 1, and you're losing 1 to his objective. You're losing 3 cards a turn, and you're not really getting very far. You need to be putting some extra damage back on him, and the only way you're going to do that is with Stardust. So I think I would have preferred to see him put Corrin Horn here, pick up the Stardust, and then walk over. Now he catches a break here because Joe draws absolute garbage. He draws 3 1s, so he's just going to lose the Rebel Reinforcement guy. But he's got 8 battle damage. Jasper covers 7, so he just throws away one of the guys from the used pile in Bosk. Yep. And now here's where he'll use Eric White and the Broken Concentration. He'll make Justin spend one of his force to put the other card back on top of his force pile. I'm sorry, back on top of his reserve deck. And now he'll do it again and get rid of the remaining force out of Silverglen's force pile. So just like that, he just took away 4 cards from his opponent. Because this guy says once per turn. I'd like to see him errata in a tweak set to say once during your turn at least. If he's going to keep his text as is, yeah. He should only work during your turn. And there's Lady Proxima, who went to the only interior location she could. Looks like we're going to get a revert here. He's going to retrieve somebody with Java's Haven. He's going to take Greedo back. And he's just going to draw a few cards instead, and then he'll save Greedo for the react. He does have the Gick to back him up. Obviously, you saw him pick up Greedo, so you kind of know what's coming. Oh, but he just spent his 2 force to maintain. I guess he's counting on using 1 of force from his opponent. So if Silverglen can use his force correctly, he could potentially stop the Jawa here from having force available to use for Greedo. But he doesn't have enough to spend, it looks like. So Greedo's going to go as a react. The react is going to get canceled by the Odin Nestler First Aid combo, one of the 7 things that card does. I think it's only 5 things that card does. So he cancels the react, so that's going to beat up on Boba Fett and draw out the Gick. We saw not too long ago he got to verify the beginning parts of his hand. Doesn't know what these last few cards are, so if he did not have the Gick, he'd be peeling 8 cards right here, and that would be a pretty good spot for Silverglen, but he's going to get off the hook. And he'll battle with Chirrut. Is Chirrut immune to any force? He's not immune to anything. Alright, so we'll just draw some Battle Destinies here. A rare good destiny for light side. It's a slightly risky battle, I guess, because Probot's immune to less than 3. It would be really awkward to draw less than that. And have Probot live and get to Force Drain while Chirrut dies because he's not immune to anything. But luckily he does crack the 3. And now he'll get to use Chirrut's other game text to retrieve Baze Malbus, getting himself back another character. And he's going to leave those 3 force behind. So, Arebelspy looks like he's slightly ahead on life force counts. Silverglen's got 24. Arebelspy has 18 and 7, 25. So just slightly ahead. He will get to retrieve his Probot now, though, now that Probot has died with Aphra, and we'll see if Probot goes right back over to the War Room. Yep. With only 2 cards in hand, you can keep kind of forcing Silverglen to kind of keeping him on his heels, basically. So, and stay tuned after this game. We have game number 2 also queued up, so we'll be replaying that game as well, so you get to see both halves of the match, one right after the other. Game 2 is much shorter. Yeah, see, this is like 2 or 3 turns now that Silverglen could have been doing some damage if he had had Stardust. But he's beginning to slowly fall behind a little bit. Not too bad yet. He's been able to kind of keep blocking things, but we've seen a number of characters already hit the table. Half of them are on the loss pile. And he's got a fairly small hand here, and between First Strike, Broken Concentration, and the Droid, he's having to keep around quite a large number of characters. Joe uses Lady Proxima. Take a peek at her. She's one of the newer cards. During your control phase, reveal the top 3 cards of your reserve deck. Take 1 alien into hand if possible, and then reshuffle. So he revealed the top 3 cards. He had P59, Twi'lek Advisor, and Arica, so he gets Arica into hand. Now he knows he's got a 3 and a 5 for his remaining 2 Battle Destiny draws. That's pretty interesting. She also, well, with 2 aliens, adds a Battle Destiny, So if he puts another alien here, he'd get 2 Battle Destiny, and he would know that it'd be a total of 8, which could be enough to get rid of 2 guys, but of course Cassian is also there. To cancel one of those. But in the meantime, just continue to keep doing the drains. 1 and 1, just pinging away. Gold Eater and Gold 1's gone. Ray is gone. We saw him lose to Bright Hope earlier. We saw him lose to Tantive earlier. And there is Arica. Now, how does Arica keep the lock? Because Arica says, during your control phase, if present at a battleground, and Luke is not, you may retrieve a force. So Arica once per turn retrieves you a force, and every time your opponent tries to activate enough to draw up, as soon as they get out of their activate phase, you just broken concentration to put one of those cards back, so therefore they can never draw up the remaining last card. So then they have to find a way to suicide themselves into a battle, and if you get too late in the game before you come to that realization, you may not have enough force to spend to deploy a guy to battle, or a guy left to deploy to battle. And then you kind of just have to sit there while your opponent retrieves his entire loss pile, 1 card at a time. Activate, retrieve, go. Activate, retrieve, move your card back, go. And you just keep playing that cycle out until they've retrieved every single card of their loss pile and finish you off. So we got Aura Singh taking on Corin Horn, and does draw the higher of the 2 Destiny. Either one would have been good enough to get rid of him. He's playing double Hujix in this deck, so he draws another 1. That is my current pet peeve with this no idea deck. It's very interesting. It's got a lot of interesting characters. It's got good ways to do damage. But man, does that Battle Destiny suck. We've had like 6 or 7 battles. He's drawn a 4 once. And otherwise, that's pretty much been it. Yeah, Probot will clear out the war room over there. Excuse me. Long day. Alright, and we'll assume that Joe will save a couple of force to make sure he can deploy Greedo. Well, there's a handful of good Destiny left in Silverglen's deck. That's kind of all he's got at this point, it looks like. A bunch of orange cards. He's back to causing the 2 direct damage with Stardust, which is good for him. Get some pressure back on and, start whittling some cards down. He's got a 2 and a 4 floating around left in there. Okay, and we get a Sabine. Sabine does some cool stuff. Firing a blaster, probably not going to come in handy. While with an Imperial, though, whenever you win a battle here, opponent loses 2 force, and she's immune to hidden weapons. Arica is the only Imperial that he's likely to come across, so if he wins the battle here, he can cause 2 force loss to his opponent. And there's Captain Hera. Captain Hera adds a Battle Destiny when with 2 Rebels or an Imperial, so he's going to get 2 Battle Destiny here. And he's going to spend one of his opponent's force to deploy Greedo as a react. And Silverglen's going to use solos once per game to barrier Greedo, to keep Greedo out of the battle here. That'll eliminate some extra power and forfeit and pretty much guarantee that Arica goes away. He was drawing a 6 total for his 2 Battle Destiny, so Greedo would have covered. Joe's going to try to accelerate, which he's going to grab. Nothing there to get. That just takes one more card away from his opponent. Silverglen can certainly see the writing on the wall here that he's likely going to lose this game. Now he's just trying to keep the differential as respectable as possible. Gets his 6 for total battle destiny. Should all but guarantee him a win here. And can he get any additional force loss? Draws a 2, so that puts him to 7. Arica forfeits for 7. So it'd be Arica and a card. And 2 more for losing the battle because of Sabine. So he's going to lose Dengar and Ship. He forfeits Hera and keeps Sabine. She at least has the higher power and forfeit. Oh, there's a tiny little mistake there. So he initiates battle over here. He's got a nice power advantage. He's up by 6. He knows his opponent's probably not going to draw well. He's going to kill off one of these characters here. But that's only going to leave him with 2 force remaining. Now, I guess it doesn't matter. No, he already spent 1 for Greedo, so he's got enough left. He could broken concentration. So 3 is not going to get it done anyway. And I'm sure that's what Silverglen realized. So when you think about it. So he had 3 cards left in his force pile. At the end of his turn, during his draw step, Joe can use broken concentration to move one of them, leaving him with 2. And then he can spend broken concentration again and use the Jawa and take away the other 2 force, leaving him with no cards left in his force pile to play the 1 card in his hand, which is the Hujix, when Boba Fett comes down with Greedo and beats the crap out of Sabine. That's probably what we're about to see as game ending, so he's just trying to see if he can't get any extra damage in the meantime. He doesn't have any cards to draw for Destiny, but he can use Cassian, put a card in his own lost pile out of play, and then just, get some extra forfeit, kill an extra guy off. And then block down some of the drains, because he knows he's pretty much dead this turn. There's nothing he can do about it. He's going to assume his opponent's got a way to deploy a character in hand and beat up some people. He'll get his 2 drains in. I mean, the guys have decent power and forfeit, of course. I think Sabine forfeits for 8 with Insurrection out, so he's covering quite a bit. Well, you're welcome, Pierre. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry we weren't able to cast this game live, but at least we got the replay links to do this. There's a couple other ones we still have to do from the first round. We missed 2 games in the first round. We missed actually one of each of these players' games in the first rounds got missed. But I know they were both watching each other's games, so I didn't think it was as urgent of a matter. Okay, so he's going to go looking to overflow, get Solo off the table. He's going to... Interesting. So Ponda Baba's here, and Ponda Baba can add a destiny to attrition or make a smuggler forfeit 0. Now, she is not a smuggler, so he's just adding a straight destiny to attrition. It would be +2 if it was your own smuggler, but it's not. His other option would have been to make a smuggler forfeit 0, so he could have made Solo forfeit 0. This guy covers 6. If he could have gotten any overflow here by doing it that way. I think Joe, as I'm looking at those, I don't think Joe wants to end the game right now. I think he wants to get Solo off the table. So he can do some other stuff. But if he makes solo forfeit 0, he's ahead by 5. He's got 2 Battle Destiny. If he draws less than 5 with the 2 Battle Destiny, well, this guy forfeits for what, 6, we said? Yeah. I forget what he had left in his reserve deck to know whether or not this is the right play or not. So we had 5 for total, which the other guy will cover. Okay, so he needs the extra Destiny to attrition to get above that. Oh, and another 1 for Silverglen. And there's the 4. So that puts his attrition up to 9, which is going to get rid of both characters. And now it's almost just like he's going to battle twice just to retrieve 4 cards. Even though he can't draw any more Destiny or whatnot. Battle here with Greedo for free. Retrieve 2 now with Scum because Han's off the table finally. And just put 4 cards back in your deck. Your opponent's got to pay to Force Drain here at the pit. He loses Force. So he retrieved 1. He nets 1 extra card total. And then he'll just move the Jawa over. Okay. And block the drains. Oh, there's Luke. But he'll spend his remaining force and prevent him from battling. Not sure why he left 3, what he was thinking he was going to accomplish with 3 force in his reserve deck. It's not a combo that comes up all that often, but every time it does, it just makes your stomach twist and turn. I don't know what happened here. They reverted, and I think our replay link broke during the revert. Yeah, because now Joe doesn't have any active force, and our game appears to have frozen up. Alright, well, that will end our link replay for Game 1. I believe the final outcome of this game was that Arebelspy won by 17. I'm going to try and check my chat log here and just see exactly what that total was, if I can go back far enough. Not finding it. Let me try looking this way. Yeah, looks like it's about 17. Yes, there it is. Okay, so yes, so uh, Arebelspy wins this game by 17, and that would be what they will be working with as we go into game number two. Gonna take a quick water break here for a second, and then we'll start streaming game number two. All right, so that was game number one. Game number two. Like I said, this game was a little bit faster. So that one took about 45 minutes to replay. Watching it, I'm sure it took a lot longer because obviously there's pauses and gaps between all the actions. So we've got Silverglen playing Hunt Down against Arebelspy's Tatooine Careful Planning start with the Tatooine Slave Quarters. So he's got Walkling Like My Father, and I Must Be Allowed to Speak. So it's Tatooine Main's deck. He'll use this start here to get out Shmi. Shmi gets 3PO. I Must Be Allowed to Speak gets you the Tatooine Farm. So you've got your Battleground. You've got 3PO to cycle through all your cards to help you find your other activation, the Boss Nash Chamber, the Jedi Council Chamber. And then you've got a very good system here where it kind of limits what Darkseid can do in terms of drawing extra battle destinies and stuff. And we've got a pretty classic hunt down. Although he does have begin landing your troops instead of to pull docking bays. Not sure what he picked this one for. Unique Republic characters for forfeit +2 as instead of unique Rebel characters. It's Destiny 4 instead of Destiny 5. Not quite sure what he's got going on there. What you drinking? Just water. Just water. Yeah, it pulls docking bays the same way that Imperial Arrest Order does. So, not sure if he's got any Republic characters who get the forfeit bonus. Maybe there's a Newt Gunray or something in here. I don't know. Guess we'll see. We do see an Ellis right in his opening hand, pretty strong, along with an I Have You Now and a Vader's Anger and a Sniper. So, pretty good start for Silverglen. Looking at his hand here, and he's got the bridge and the effect puller, so he can save that if he has any other effects in his deck. He doesn't need to waste it now getting the bridge either. All right, so he'll go get a docking bay. He gets the 1-0 docking bay. And he's got his 2-0 from hand. He can't afford to deploy Vader, and he doesn't know where to put him anyway. So he's going to draw a couple. Picks up a Restraining Bolt. A second I Have You Now. And he will top deck a card to Visage. He top decks Blizzard 4, which Joe already pulled a Goldenrod for. He saves 3 Force. This could get interesting. All right, so we got Shmi. He's activating 8. Okay, so we've got Shmi, we've got 3PO. He's going to leadership to take an Admiral into hand. See if he gets Radis, Akbar. And during his move phase, now we're going to see Silverglen use that, and he's going to pull Presence of the Force. Things are about to get interesting. This is going to be just like in the movies. I guess that makes sense, IAO, because you can't. You need to get docking bays and still be able to pull it to use Ellis. That makes sense too. I forgot that this version doesn't do that. Good call. Kiss my Wookie. It's Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. So he's got the Presence of the Force. He's got Vader. Vader can cancel Shmi's game text too. So the angry son is going to go back home looking for his mama and put a whooping on her. He'll go get a docking bay, check, make sure his lightsaber's in there. If the lightsaber wasn't in there, this would have been. Probably would have used Mara instead. Swing, hit, make Shmi forfeit 0. But because the lightsaber was in there, he'll use I am my father. He'll get the lightsaber, cancel her text because she subtracts 1 from Battle Destiny draws. That's about all she does. 3PO lets you put the top card of your used pile on top of your reserve deck when he's in battle with Shmi, but that's really only helpful if you're actually going to draw Battle Destiny. So Shmi would have gotten hit. He's going to play I think I can handle myself to cancel the Weapon Destiny because she's a female. But he draws another High Destiny. And Shmi will still be hit. She'll now be forfeit 0. And he'll have to lose a force. And he loses the interrupt. 3PO will... 3PO is going to do his thing and move the card. Okay. And we'll get a Battle Destiny draw. Ouch. It's a 5. So it's going to be 11 to 2. 3PO will cover 3. So he's going to have to peel 6 cards unless he has an opening hand Hoojix. You are very welcome, CRG. Thank you guys for watching. He does have the Hoojix. Okay. It does get grabbed right away. And he will draw that last card, and it's Ice Heart. So now he's got a second way to get to non-battlegrounds. The Home 1 War Room. Okay. He's looking for the farm. He misses the farm, so it's either it's active or it's in his hand. And it's going to be Luke versus Vader. Now, the grandson is returning to avenge his grandmother's death at the hands of his father. Gets a use pile pull, and it looks like he probably took the Jedi Council chamber there with the use pile search. Since he just deployed it, he needs the activation. Luke gets a weapon. I'll pull the weapon lev shield because, well, that'd be the worst thing that could happen right now is to have your lightsaber stolen. All right. Luke's going to swing at Daddy. He's got a 5 and... oof, a 1. That will miss. That is no good for Joe. That's certainly problematic. Blaster deflects to cancel the dark side swing. But he's only got 5 cards in his hand, and here's an I have you now, and even if this gets canceled, he's got a second one. It does go through, so now we've got 2 Battle Destiny to 1, and he draws a 4, which, like my father, turns into a 5, but this persona of Vader is immune to less than 6, so that was about as bad as it could possibly go. Joe spends his entire turn deploying Luke, battling, misses the swing by 1, and then misses the Battle Destiny draw by 1. Vader's going to live. He's drawn 6 so far. Not great. Actually, if Vader had swung, he would have missed because Luke's defense value is 7. He does draw a total of 11. That'll crack Luke's immunity. So Joe spent his whole turn and unfortunately gained no ground there. Hunt down will now flip back, and he'll have to lose a force at the end of the turn to Visage. And he's only got 5 in hand, so probably going to top deck. He does, and there goes Luke number 2. Justin will activate and pay 3 to drain. He gets tunnel visioned, which is important for Joe to cancel it, but at the same time you wonder if he should have saved that to make sure he could find it. I don't know what the other 4 cards in his hand are. Maybe he's got something else to come back and counteract this and try and get rid of this Vader, but yeah, Vader gets back up with Mara Jade now here too. Yeah, he could have used put Walkling on a play to retrieve the lightsaber there. We're assuming he runs two. Most mains throne roomish style decks tend to run two. He's also only activating 12, so I'm sure he was concerned since he already also used his farm pole and missed about having activation issues if he cuts himself down to 11 and not using Walkling there. But yeah, ideally, Silverglen during the battle would have pulled Secret Plans or Coward. Coward's a tough one because he has to know he's going to live, which you have to assume Vader probably isn't. So many fives in light side mains decks. With like my father, you would just assume that Vader's going to not live. But light side is going to deploy Rey. That'll get a used pile search. It's going to need to find another character to go with it. He also draws the bottom card, so now he's really running out of options here. He does find Ahsoka. She's a Jedi. She flips the objective back. She also can't be targeted by permanent weapons, so Mara can't swing at her. They both lose one. And he throws away the sonic bombardment. Now I'm curious with that one why he threw the sonic away, because he hasn't lost the prison. Did he lose the prison to a drain already? I think he might have. I was going to say, usually you would play it first to make sure you get the prison out of your deck, but you can't lose it afterwards. Then I think he did lose the prison now that I think about it. I think he top decked it to one of the Visage draws earlier. All right, that makes a little more sense now. I'm pretty sure he lost it to off the top to Visage 2 turns ago. Okay, so therefore he does not need the Sonic. He's got other cards in his hand he could lose to Visage if he needed to pull to Prison still. So make sure you don't have the 0 floating around in the deck. Yeah, I don't know what he's playing for Battlegrounds here. I think he's just planning on using Presence to make his own Battleground. I don't think he actually has one of his own. And he's got Crush, so he can use that to cancel Clash, which is the hard thing for, because Clash cancels Presence of the Force. All right, so Silverglen's going to get nasty. He's going to play the Sniper Dark Strike. He's going to take Rey out of the equation. That's going to cause a force loss because Vader hit her. And now with 11 force left, he's going to spend 5 of it and drop Kylo and get 6 more power. So he's got quite a big power advantage here, and Vader's going to swing at Ahsoka. He can't play Hoojix because it's been grabbed, even if he had a second one. This could be trouble here for Arebelspy. This could be on the verge of defeat. Yep, that's going to hit her, make her forfeit 0. So right now it's an 11 force difference. He subtracts 1 from the Battle Destiny draw, but he has to lose 1 right here as well. So, oh, lightsaber swung at Vader, just hit a character, cancel that character's game text. He could have played Vader's Anger here. A, it would have put 1 more card back in his deck, but more important, I mean, he's saving it for obviously this other stuff. It would have started from subtracting 1 as well. And then I guess he could swing at her again. Swing at her again with Kylo and try and cause 1 more force loss. Now, you don't need to get crazy with that. So he's going to cause 11 damage, plus the difference between whatever they draw. Another 5 for Silverglen. Just nothing but high destinies coming left and right here. We've got 20 to 5. She's forfeit 0. He draws Padme. Everybody, the whole family's getting into the action at this farm here. 20 to 8, so it's going to be 12 overflow. And Arebelspy is going to go ahead and concede. Yeah, so he would have peeled 12 here. He was at 28. He peels 12 cards. takes him down to 16, and then he's staring at. He still has to find some way to deal with Vader and Mara, um, who are just going to keep draining for 3, and Visage is going to keep pinging for 1. Yeah, Visage would hit him for 1 more. So he'd actually end up healing 13 cards out of his remaining life force, while his opponent is sitting over here at 32, and he's got to get him down to under 17. Wasn't looking too promising, and rather than drag out a inevitable outcome, we'll call it, uh, Arebelspy is going to go ahead and concede the game, and Silverglen will advance into the semifinals. So let's go ahead and update our bracket maker. I have no idea what my password is. I just save it. So we go here, and we advance Justin Branch as the winner. Congratulations to him. He will now move on and face Greg Shaw in the semifinals. And on the other side of the bracket, Bastian Winkelhaus, who's at the Essen Game Fair right now. Big game fair over in Germany. We'll be awaiting the winner of the Chris Kelly-Chris Werfs match. We had game 1 of that match last night. I'm going to close this window because that's really bright. We had game 1 of that match last night. I believe Werfs won by 14, I want to say was the total. And they were expected to play game number 2 tonight. I think that's happening around 10:30 again, same time as last night. Let me just see if they are still playing. But I believe they're supposed to play that game later this evening, and then we will have our semifinals set. Let's see if either of them's online and happens to respond. While you guys are still here, we still have the stream going. We'll find out, try and find out the answer to that question. Oh, he's typing. He's typing. Yes, they are still playing tonight. So that game should happen in about 2 hours from now. I don't know who will be streaming it tonight. I guess I'll have to find out if Queso or Dan wants to do it. Otherwise, I guess yours truly will be back on in a couple hours to bring you some more live action of our final quarterfinal matchup. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching these replay streams, and check back in a couple hours for some live action. Take care.